Welcome to the Rebel Love Show. We are a once-a-week podcast from Manchester, New Hampshire, where we are pro-pot, pro-gun, and pro-coffee. You can find all of our content on Voluntary Virtues Network, where we are syndicated. Go check that out, because they actually have some great anti-state shows on their YouTube channel, which is amazing. We're also on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, and, of course, Facebook.com and RebelLoveShow.com. I am Mathias.
And I am Shire Dude.
And today our lovely guest is none other than the Dr. Frankenfurter of the Shire, the one and only Amanda Bouldin, the foundress.
You know, his character is completely evil. Like, he controls and manipulates and takes advantage of everyone.
You are running for office. Am I wrong?
Okay, fine. Yeah, you got me.
All right. Anywho, first, before we go into the show, as always, we have some announcements to talk about. Keenevention is literally in 1 week. Not 1 week, in a couple of days. In the end of the week now.
Yeah, this weekend.
Yeah. So, my mic. Oh, my God. I might have to...
There's an announcement right there. New mic cord coming soon.
New mic cord coming soon to the Rebel Love Show.
Send Bitcoin.
Yeah, send Bitcoin. Help us, please. Anywho, Keenevention's at the end of this week. We all have panels to discuss. Considering you are as our guest here, what panel are you doing at Keenevention? Charity.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That
Who's on
good.
Who's on your panel?
Dale Everett, Stephanie Murphy, and Teresa. Yeah,
that works. I always forget how to pronounce her.
Facebook name is not her real last name, and I don't remember what her real last name is.
Well, your Facebook name isn't your real
Teresa Earl, that's her name.
Your Facebook name isn't your real name either.
Right.
Yeah. So that's kind of like the status quo here.
Names choose you.
Whoa.
Wow, that's deep.
I can understand that.
Yeah, that's really deep. What has Dale done in... I understand what everyone else has done on the panel and charity. I'm not familiar with his charity.
Yeah, Dale used to live in Keene, and he spent a lot of time volunteering there, doing charitable stuff.
Oh.
So now that he lives in Manch, he does different stuff with his time. But yeah,
okay.
He was kind of on the forefront of that sort of activity in Keene back in the day.
Okay,
you'll have to go to the panel if you want to hear more.
Yeah, and well, speaking of, what is your panel, Shire Dude?
I'm on the New Movers panel with Selfie the Outlaw, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
I don't understand how she is the moderator of the New Movers
We were just talking
panel.
about this earlier. I was talking about this with somebody because she didn't technically move here for the Free State Project. Like, I don't think she's signed the statement.
Oh, no,
of
she
intent.
definitely did not move for the Free State Project, obviously.
And she's moved away now. But, of course, this panel was decided before that all happened.
I don't even know who that is.
Selfie the Outlaw?
Selfie?
Yeah. Her I guess her real name is
like,
Josie.
Selfie.
Yeah.
Oh, Josie Wales?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's her new name is Selfie the Outlaw. That name actually chose her.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how she's... Don't get me wrong, I love Josie. She's amazing, except for the fact that she moved. But I don't know how she's doing a New Movers panel for someone who doesn't live here anymore. That just doesn't make any sense. But anyways, you're on that panel, so hopefully you'll have fun talking about, what you could bring up, like, and here's how you stayed, here's how you don't stay. Like, you can bring that up in conversation with her on the panel. Like, what caused you to move?
Just call her out during the panel. That'd be pretty funny.
Yo, you should, man. Make a name for yourself. Call her out on the panel. Anyways, I'm going to be doing I'm on 2 panels. I'm on the direct action panel. Teresa's on that as well. So is I know it's Garrett's panel and a bunch of other activists on that as well. And then right after that, I'm back to back, man. Right after that, I am moderating a secession panel with Daryl, Lauren, Conan, and Jason Sorens. I'm second, but Jason Sorens is on my secession panel, which seems...
That's crazy.
Yeah. The founder of the Free State Project talking about secession at Keenevention. That seems like... you're smiling at me weird, like you want to say something.
People worship him like he's a celebrity, but they're really chill, humble people. I mean, he wrote a paper, he had an idea, but he didn't move you here. You moved yourself here.
No.
You're a celebrity too. I mean, as much as he is. And, he only moved here recently.
Yeah, I know. I moved here before he did.
Yeah.
That's not. No, it's just the fact that like he doesn't he's sometimes he's like the poster child for the Free State Project. I understand the Free State Project is not a secessionist movement in any way, shape, or form, but
it's a nonprofit.
Oh, that's right.
It's a nonpartisan nonprofit. I don't know. Non things. It's not anything. It's a bus.
It's
like
nothing. It's just it's a sign on a Bitcoin website saying "Move here."
Yeah.
That's pretty much all.
It's a travel agency.
It's a travel agency for anarchists.
Sunny
yes.
New Hampshire.
Yeah, there you go. Well, at any rate, the poster child of the anarchist destination travel agency is going to be on my panel. So that's cool. So into the meat of the crux of you being here, Shire Sharing. What is this about? I wasn't here for last year, so act as if I have no idea what it is.
Well, I moved for the FSP in 2009, September of 2009, and then in February of 2011, my dad called me on the phone and told me that he had been diagnosed with leukemia, and I moved from Texas, so I was a good 2,000 miles away at probably one of the most intense moments in my adult life. And 2 months later, he died. And I did make it down there in time for that. I don't know if that's a good experience or not, but it was meaningful to me to be there when that happened. And, your typical grief and loss, trouble sleeping, all that stuff. And by October, I guess I had gotten to a more stable place emotionally, and I realized that Thanksgiving was coming. And my dad, for probably 10 years before he passed away, had spent every Thanksgiving delivering food to families in need all over Dallas. The first year that he did it with my stepmom, he delivered to only one household, and before he passed away, he had grown to like 250 to 300 households. And over time, he roped in his friends and coworkers and dragged me along in the car at like 8 a.m. on a Sunday, which is a horrible time to be awake when you're a teenager. So I grew up around it, and so I started wondering if in his absence anyone was going to pick up the project in Dallas. And then I thought about how Free Staters out here, which make up the majority of my friends, value privately funded voluntary charity. So I talked to a couple people about it. Believe it or not, I was nervous about the idea, and I got good feedback, so I posted to Facebook about it and got a really big response, and people were really interested in volunteering, donating, and participating in any way they could. So in about 2 weeks' time, about over $1,000 was donated, and we delivered food to about 50 households in New Hampshire, all of them in Concord. And then a year went by, and I was sitting in Church of the Sword, and
I've actually only gone to one Church of the Sword, and that was at Porkfest.
Oh, well, that one's different than your it's fun.
Oh, no,
Yeah,
I actually haven't gone to the normal.
You drink beer at 11 a.m.
I've never been. Can you describe it a little bit more for people who...
Church of the Sword? Yeah. It was established by Kevin Bloom and Kirk McNeil, some really active Free Staters here. And at Church of the Sword, let's see, Pedro goes a lot, right? Yeah.
Are you a minister, Pedro?
Not at that church.
No.
They do have ministers, I guess. But it really is like it is full of tradition and stuff like that, like in a typical church service. It's not just some tax shelter or whatever people might expect it to be. So at Church of the Sword, first when you show up, there is fighting with foam swords, and they have fancy names for all of the activities. And then after fighting with foam swords, there's ranting. So you get a chance to yell about whatever you want, or read a poem, or a part of a book. And usually they have like overturned buckets that they use as drums for like dramatic effect when you're reading. And then after the ranting, there's beer. So you drink beer, and there's a lottery, which is good. And part of the lottery money goes toward next week's beer. And then after the lottery, I believe that's when there's pie. And they say that some religions tell you that there was pie before, but there isn't pie now. And some religions tell you that there's no pie now, but if you're good, you can have pie in the future. But only at Church of the Sword can you have pie today.
That's beautiful.
Oh.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, anyways, you were at the Church of the Sword.
Yeah, and someone was like, so are you going to do this again? You know, hand out food to people in need. And I was like, I don't know. It's kind of a one-off. Just wanted to memorialize my dad, feel connected to him. And I think it was Emily Sandblade maybe shoved a $10 bill in my direction, and she's like, here's your first donation. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll do it. And then that year we raised, I think, over $5,000 and delivered to almost 200 households. So we went from 50 households to 200. So in 2 years, I basically met my dad's highest achievement before the end of his life. And then in the third year, which was last year, 2013, I raised $9,000 and delivered to, almost 400 households, which ended up benefiting about 1,300 people. So in every household, there's an average of like 3.5 people.
Do you expect to beat that number this year?
This year's goal is 500 households. So it's a big process. We try to raise as much money as we can, and all the money comes in voluntarily. And Shire Sharing is not a 501c3 charity. 501c. I don't even know what the letters are.
I don't even
I haven't
know.
filled out that paperwork. But so the result of which is that people can't deduct the donations from their taxes. So they get no, I guess, tax
Incentive.
benefit. Yeah, there's no monetary incentive to donate to Shire Sharing. So despite that, we have continued success, growing every year, more volunteers every year, more donations, bigger donations every year.
To what do you attribute that kind of growth? Like how did this get so big?
I think that it's a combination of word of mouth and what's that word for
Momentum?
No. How people talk about it relates to ostracism and like the free market of friendship and keeping
Your reputation.
Yes, exactly, reputation.
Well, reputation is everything in this community, bar none. Like obviously, if you fuck up, like you fuck up, like everyone knows. And if you do something amazing, word gets around of what you're doing. So I can understand how reputation has definitely affected Shire Sharing.
Yeah, and every year I've tried to rope someone into making a video, like short documentary about the entire process from beginning to end, because I know that it's important to people that donate to be able to see the results of their hard-earned money.
Well, if you don't mind, I do plan to go to those events and film a lot.
Yes, I mind. I definitely don't want volunteers.
Like I want to
myself.
volunteer and help out. Don't get me wrong, but I do plan to like film like everything going
That's
on,
great.
and like I have a raw channel, youtube.com/VRebelRaw. No, I plan to go and like film like from beginning to end and like actually follow like other like drop-offs and like go to a family and stuff like that, and like the whole process from like beginning to end during the whole when you're packaging the food all the way to when it's delivered and whatnot. Because one thing I like to do here is like this show in general. It's just like I want to capture what life is like, and especially when there's any kind of activism, like showing, like just reading a blog post doesn't do it for me. Like actually seeing pictures and video of what what everyone does around here is a huge thing, and it's like this show I try to capture with it, but like when something big like that happens, like Shire Sharing, I want to go there and I want to capture it. I don't want to it's almost like sometimes I almost view a YouTube video as a current day or a modern historical document. Like imagine like 100 years from now, like people will go back and they'll look down and they'll see like it's you're documenting what happened, and like even if it's just a charity organization, you're doing a charity outside of the state, and you're showing that like libertarians aren't selfish, that
And
anarchists
humans in
aren't
general
selfish. Yeah, it's like they work,
especially
people,
in New Hampshire.
exactly, and that's not something that's talked about. That's not something that's like, it is in amongst us and whatnot, but I mean, hopefully more people see that. But I mean, most people consider people who oppose the state as very selfish and, full of themselves and not, caring about other people.
Well, I think that the same is assumed about Republicans. It's basically just the people that champion funding welfare with taxes view anyone who doesn't support that as Darwinist, as someone that hopes that other people just if you can't cut it, then whatever, die. I don't know, Darwinist.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. The whole evolution, like let people die off because they can't fend for themselves and whatnot. Yeah, that's what the left usually says about the right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so we're lumped into that.
Yeah, even though we're not left or right, but nonetheless, we kind of are lumped into that. But with Shire Sharing, I was really curious. How do you find the families?
That was difficult the first year, and it's still difficult every year, and it's weird. So the way that my dad did it in Texas, he had a contact at Catholic Charities, which is a massive, partially privately funded charity organization. I mean, they apply for government grants and stuff, but other than that, they're basically privately funded, and it's the Catholic Church, and they just help people. They have clients, homeless people, women that have been beaten or something, or men that have been beaten. That does happen. I don't want to be sexist. And or refugees from other countries, war-torn. I guess they call them New Americans. So Catholic Charities handles stuff like that all over the country. And he worked with them in Texas, and they sent him a list of just families on their client list that needed help. So I did the same thing here. And the first place I called was Catholic Charities. And believe it or not, they were like, yeah, we don't need any help, thanks. So I kept calling around, and eventually someone at Lutheran Social Services was head over heels about the idea, and they didn't have anyone helping their clients in that way. And they hooked me up with that initial list of like 50 houses. And then I just every year keep calling more places because we've used up everyone at Lutherans, like their client list. We're like, that's a quarter of what we need to meet our goal. So Friends of Forgotten Children is another similar sort of nonprofit. They're more of a food bank out in Concord, and a lot of people come there just to pick stuff up. They have jackets and winter clothes and things like that people need. And I believe that Friends of Forgotten Children was established with the I don't know her name, but a woman who lived in Concord passed away, and she left all of her money, I guess, she wanted, in her will, she said she wanted this organization started in her memory or something. And then we also get Catholic Charities finally, bit, and they've been participating as of last year. And Harbor Homes sends us a lot of households to deliver to. And Harbor Homes deals with homeless people, or like precariously housed is what they call it, like someone who's really couch surfing or living in their car. They're not technically homeless because they're not sleeping outside, and they also deal with veterans, a lot of veterans. So that's really pleasing to me because, I don't support the war, but I do support the troops. And I think that a lot of people were lied to get them to join the war. They suffer from a lot of emotional and physical disorders from having participated in the wars that we've had in this country over the last 100 years.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to help them in any way.
Well, it's definitely admirable. How much hours do you put in on this?
5 million bajillion.
Like it's not like just
I
like
don't
listening to you
count.
talking about like all the charities you contacted and all this and doing that. Like I'm just like curious, like how many like literally hours of like just calling people that you've put in. It has to be into like close to 1,000.
I don't know. I don't keep track, but I'm lucky to have had a job for the last several years that allows me to spend time not doing my job. So I've had two different jobs over the last couple of years, and both of them have that flexibility in them. I don't have to take time off of work to accomplish these tasks.
Okay. All right. So where can people donate to Shire Sharing?
So the website is shiresharing.org, and it's Shire as in the last 5 letters in New Hampshire, or the first 5 letters in Shire Dude. And so it's SHIRE sharing.org, and on the website on the right-hand side, there's a You Caring app or plugin, whatever, and you can click on that and donate with credit or debit card. Also on the You Caring page that the button links to when you donate, in the description on that page is the Bitcoin address, but also on the website shiresharing.org, I believe we have a Bitcoin button right at the top there on the right.
Nice.
So definitely, I know Bitcoin's not happy right now, but
Yeah,
if you send
anyone
Bitcoin, we like
that
it.
donates Bitcoin right now, they're donating more than just you know.
Roger Ver should send me Bitcoin.
Yeah.
That guy.
God, Bitcoin's at it's like at 350 today. I really want to go back. Just go back to 600. Just go back to 600. I was okay with that. Like right now, it's low for me. Like I was comfortable at 600. Hopefully, it'll go to the moon. It'll go up to 1500 or
One
day or
Yeah.
15,000 or 150,000
In
or
50 years, we'll all be millionaires.
yeah. All you need is just one Bitcoin in 20
Yeah.
years, and you'll be like a billionaire. Pedro is gonna have his own planet in 5 years. Who knows?
So people who are only listening and not watching the video are like, "Who's Pedro?" Probably.
Well,
They're
that's
why are they
that's the
talking
fun
to-
that's the fun
give
thing
them a
about that's the
microphone?
fun thing about it. If they're listening while they're on a treadmill on their iPhone or Android phone, they're like, shit. Now I got to go back and watch the YouTube video because we're talking
There's
about
a
a Pedro
mystery
in the
man.
room. Mystery.
Yeah.
Well, no. If you want to know who Pedro
He's
is,
the ghost who haunts the Rebel Love Show studio.
yes, there is a Shire Dude episode dedicated to Pedro.
Episode 4, I believe. It's
Yeah.
called Pedro.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Really?
watch.
Mhm.
You have your own episode?
Yeah.
Do you have your own episode?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I don't know.
You definitely deserve one at some point.
That
Yeah.
would be fun.
I don't have my own, but Ash does. The cat does.
The studio cat. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, it's weird too. Anywho, it's like that too. So speaking of, I have no idea what reference it really means, but you're running for the state. You're going into the
I'm trying to get a government job. Yeah, I
Yeah.
want to be on the government dole. $100 a year.
$100.
Sell out.
Yeah, it only took $100 to get the sell your soul to the state.
I'm gonna get 100 sandwiches at McDonald's. Yeah.
Oh, don't eat fast food. don't do it.
We do have a meals tax here, so I actually can't get 100 sandwiches with my state rep pay.
It's like
9%.
is it 9%? It's
Yeah. I
something
think
like that.
so.
Yeah. Well, that sucks. But you're running for. Well, technically, you are going. You're basically already won. You're running unopposed.
Is this made of wood?
Yes.
Should I knock on it?
Well,
Yeah.
unless the Republicans. First off, you're running as a Democrat, which is.
Wah, wah.
Yeah. I was gonna. But that I'm not. I hate both the Republicans and the Democrats, but that's one thing I love to see free staters go into the opposite party, just because why not, and do whatever you can to get elected.
Well, I mean, when I was in Texas, I grew up Republican, and my dad told me always vote Republican. And I don't think he was opposed to abortion, based on conversations we had about that, when I was a teenage girl. But he always voted Republican, and he voted for Rick Perry, who he's some kind of super psycho when it comes to women's bodies.
Yeah.
But so that was the environment I was raised in. And one day, even when I was getting interested in politics and kind of hearing about Ron Paul, I tried to go and register with the Republican Party in my hometown, but they were really creepy, and they tried to give me cookies, and they looked really happy to see me. I don't know if they were just like, youth, yes, bring the youth in. So I ran away, well, calmly, and never registered. And I think that you should, if you're going to run for state rep in New Hampshire, take a good long look at the two parties that are really available and think about which one reflects your values the most. Because every activist, we all say that we're liberty-oriented, libertarian, voluntarist, whatever, and so we can have a conversation about any given topic, guns, I don't know, sex or economy or whatever, and we pretty much agree, but there are issues that get each of us pissed off. I think that
What are your issues?
free market stuff, but sexism especially drives me insane. And it's kind of funny because I've talked to real Democrats since registering as a Democrat in order to run for state rep, and the level of sexism that they exude is offensive. This woman in New Hampshire runs a blog. I won't mention it. She doesn't deserve the advertising.
I don't know
And
what you're talking about.
She posted this rant. A guy who's a state rep said that a different woman who's running for a government position was beautiful, and that her opponent was ugly as sin. And so his whole blog post was about how he's predicting that the beautiful woman will win because people will vote for someone that they're attracted to over someone who is apparently ugly as sin. So then this blogger lady posts this blog ranting about how women are oppressed, and women suffer the burden of having to be attractive in addition to being intelligent or responsible or capable or timely or whatever. And I agreed with a lot of that. I definitely feel that pressure in my life that I can't just show up in my sweatpants and sweatshirt and, no makeup on, and I haven't bathed in 3 days, which is me any given day of the week, and still be able to make an impression on someone based on the skills that I bring to the table. But men, I feel like they have more of an opportunity to do that. So I agreed with her wholeheartedly, and then I left it.
So basically, you're sexist to men.
No. I acknowledge that things are different for different people based on social reasons. But so I commented on her post and I said that yes, definitely I feel this pressure in my life as a female to live my life this way. But I hope that you also acknowledge that men are objectified, men are stereotyped. For example, men are beaten, right? And they're told that they should not hit a woman back, so they can't act in self-defense because women are frail and innocent and men are just supposed to take it, which is a whole bunch of bullshit. And then male rape happens. It's a real thing. Men can't control when they appear to be aroused or not. So, and men can actually be frightened into having an erection. So it is entirely possible, based on what I've read, and not anything I've tried.
Fear boners are real.
Yeah, it's entirely possible to
do
rape
tell.
a man.
Go ahead. No,
Oh, okay.
go ahead. I thought he had a story.
I don't have
about
a story,
fear
I'm
boners.
just
I thought he
like-
had the story of a fear boner.
I'm
That's
getting
not
one
a
right now. I
story.
didn't have anything for that. Yeah. Go on.
So yeah, so all these things are real, and I commented that to that effect on her blog. And I said that women can set an example for men who are stereotyping and objectifying women, and also women can set an example for future generations by treating men as individuals, not making assumptions and not collectivizing them. She posted my comment because she likes to police her comments a lot, and then told me to take my drivel elsewhere. And she posted in all caps something like, "What about the poor men?" So she was like really offended that I said, yeah, you're right, this happens to women, and you know what, stuff happens to men too. Men aren't treated as individuals, they're collectivized. And she thought that was just like, who cares? That was her reaction, which is feminazi at its peak, and that is disgusting.
Well, the question is, how are you gonna change that in the state house?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, you said that was your issue. I figured that's
well,
why
yeah,
you're
but that's
running
where-
you're running on changing sexism for New Hampshire. I don't know what your platform
I can't make
is.
people not be jerks, but that's what I'm saying is that when you consider which party you want to run with, there are a lot of factors to consider. But for me, I think that it would be harder for me emotionally to participate in the Republican Party, even though there are issues that I agree with them on, like free markets and stuff like that, and that I jive more with the Democrats. I really, racism and sexism, while they have their proper place in comedy, hurt me to talk about. When people say racist words, I don't even want to hear it. So I think that I fit in better with them. They don't think that. They want me gone.
Yeah,
But that was how I made that decision.
Yeah, I hear you on the whole racist. One thing I love about, like, at least with this community, and like most libertarians and voluntarists and anarchists, whatever you want to call yourself, one thing I love about most people that I've met is they really do treat people as a human being, as an individual. Like, it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. Like, it doesn't matter your background. Doesn't even none of that matters. Like, to me, you are a human being. You're just like me and everyone else. I don't care that you're female or male or transsexual, gay, bi, or dare I say poly, but
Or pansexual.
or pansexual.
What's that?
Oh, that's this
That's
guy.
when you transcend gender with how you like people or whatever. You don't even consider
so like dogs
gender
too,
in it.
or
I don't think that includes dogs.
what about the cat Ash?
It might
I heard
include
you guys
Ash.
like to spank.
It includes Ash,
Ash is
yeah.
kinky. That's for damn sure. She loves being like.
Ash is definitely a
Yeah.
pansexual kitten. But go on.
Yeah, she is. No, she definitely is. Yeah. But no, like, at any rate, like, we all treat everyone as an individual. I mean, we're all human beings on this rock that's floating around a star. Earth's my homeland. I don't care where people come from or what they look like. Unfortunately, Republicans don't really view people that way. Conservatives don't view people that way.
Well, people
Democrats
just-
are better on looking at people. Well, a little bit better. I mean, for the most part, there's a lot of Democrats that are very racist. I mean, look at the Dixiecrats in the South from, the turn of the century and
They have
whatnot.
Democrats in the South.
Not anymore. They
I think there's
did.
this one pocket in Dallas. That's it. It's like it's just a bad neighborhood.
Yeah. But so you're going in. What? Because I want to label you as the new Mark Ward. You know, you don't want to be like that.
No, that's nope. That's a lot of esteem there. I don't deserve it. Mark Warden's an amazing,
Okay.
accomplished person. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I'm not.
What can we expect? You calling yourself a volunteer going in.
I have
what
no
do you
idea.
expect?
I have no idea. I don't even really know how to be a state rep. I figure they'll tell me when I show up.
Well, no. You don't let them tell you how to be a state rep. You
Well, no,
tell
they're-
them how to do it.
But no kidding. Like, there's a lot of rules. There's a dress code. Men have to wear a suit, and I think that they have to have like a vote, or something has to happen ceremonial for the men to be allowed to take off their jackets, and the women present in the state house have to give consent that the men can take off their, like, I get to decide whether or not men can take off their jackets. It's insane.
You should just fuck with them and say I don't consent.
Like,
Like
it's-
buck
yeah, it's
buck
like
every trend, every
90
like religious
degrees.
ceremony that they have in the state house. Just like try to throw a wrench in there, and just stop anything. Like you'll have a huge floor debate on your consent to whether or not like another person can take off their jacket.
Well, I've been wondering if anyone's going to listen to me if we're like debating police or something. If all of my statistics come from the crime dramas I watch, like I don't know if they're going to take me seriously.
Well, my hope is just, and honestly, please don't pass any laws. Like that's my goal. Like don't do that. Just try and get rid of stuff. I'm fine with you get rid of everything,
Well,
or at least stop them.
but
Just
like passing a law could be like passing a law that prevents the government from doing XYZ.
if
You know, that could be a good law to pass.
If you
know,
can
like
get-
you can't buy bear cats. That's pro-liberty law to pass.
I like
you
that
know?
law. It's concise.
yeah, if you can get laws that stop them from doing stuff, I'm okay with that. Well, for the most part.
It's a really complicated game there. Like my friends that are state reps try to tell me about how their days go. My eyes just glaze over. I know I have a huge learning curve. For example, the way that the votes are presented when you look up how your state rep voted, it says yay or nay. But you actually have to look at how the bill was introduced to even understand. So there might be a bill on marijuana and their vote might have been nay. And you'd be like, you jerk, you voted against marijuana. And then they're like, you stupid citizen, you don't know what's going on. And the bill might have been a bill to, it might have said like, I guess they have the committee recommendation is either inexpedient to legislate or ought to pass. And so the committee recommends a certain stance on the bill. And then when it reaches the state house floor and they vote, they're voting yay or nay against the committee's recommendation. So the committee might say that a marijuana bill is inexpedient to legislate. And then if you vote nay, you're actually voting in favor of marijuana legalization. It's really confusing stuff. So it's like, seriously, I don't know how to be a state rep, and I'm sure they'll tell me.
Well, I'm sure you'll figure it out when you get in there. I would love to see. I'll put my minarchist cap on if you can get full on pot legalization through. I'll be supportive of you in that endeavor.
Are you not currently supportive of people running for state rep?
Okay.
How's your little thing going where how you live your life? Is there still state in your life now?
Yeah.
You like pay
yeah.
taxes and stuff?
I try not to.
So
try to do
like what's
everything.
going to happen if you don't pay your taxes?
Well, they'll come with men with costumes and guns will come to me and kidnap me and throw me in a cage. I'm well aware of what will happen.
So if we have a good majority in the state house that pass a law that or they repeal a law so that your taxes are lower.
Now look. Hear me out. I've said this. I've actually said this before. Like I will I won't vote for national politics. Like I am going to vote in the election. And it's just going to be for free staters and maybe a couple other liberty-oriented candidates.
Good.
But other than that, I like any other offices. I'm just going to write something in or just put none of the above or something like that.
You should write like Daffy Duck.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Vermin Supreme.
Write him in for everything.
Yeah.
He's a great guy.
Yeah, he is. So, and the big thing is because obviously I'm an advocate of secession. I'm not trying to say that you're a secessionist, but liberty-oriented people dislike the federal government. And even if they can like at least nullify laws, I'd be happy with that. So the only way that I can like see a change like that, it was be more liberty-oriented people in there. I'm not against free staters and liberty-oriented people running in there as long as they have like the ideology that they don't own me, you know, that they can't write a law that tells me how to live my life. Unfortunately, Democrats and Republicans, like the normal Democrats and Republicans, you're obviously not a normal one. You actually don't believe that anyone can tell
I'm
another
as much
person.
a Democrat as anyone else is. I'm just not with the establishment. I'm not kidding. You talk to a random Democratic voter, and they're not. They don't. The establishment of any party doesn't really reflect the people that sign up with that party and try to vote with that party. We're really like the way that voters are. Like a voter's going to have a strong opinion, just like any free stater, right? Or a libertarian. A voter's going to have a strong opinion about the death penalty, or a strong opinion about taxation, or a strong opinion about welfare or immigration, and that's their only issue. And then they look for the party that agrees with them on that issue. They register with that party and vote with that party because they're like, I don't want the Mexicans here, and so they have to vote Republican.
Do you believe taxation is theft?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I don't know why you're doubting me.
No, okay. Well, then you're good.
No,
you're
but,
fine.
but I'm just
that's my
clarifying.
thing. Yeah.
I'm as much a Democrat or a Republican as any of the Republicans or Democrats are. It's meaningless. I guess that the whole point of having political parties is so that the people that I guess to make it easier on voters to identify candidates that agree with them on issues. But it's all BS. It doesn't really work that way. That's why politics is such a convoluted game, is because we have these two parties. Supposedly, everyone in each party agrees with the platform, but you go to like the big thing that the Republicans have, where they all yell at each other and like delegates vote and stuff. What do they call it? I don't know. Right? And the one that we had recently in New Hampshire, people were outraged because they were like, I think there's something about ISIS, or no, what is it? Sharia law is part of the, like an opposition to Sharia law is part of the Republican platform now in New Hampshire, which is like, what? I know. Like, can we find someone in New Hampshire that even participates in?
Are
I don't
people
know.
worried that Sharia law is going to be enacted in Manchester or anything like that?
Yeah,
like
maybe.
that the police are going to have to like come up to me because I'm like, you know, being whatever it might be or whatnot. I mean, is that actually a concern of conservatives in the State House?
Well, so that's a fine example of just how the establishment is, and the fact that so many people within the Republican Party, the delegates, you know, that are registered Republicans, they went out there to participate in the process of creating the platform for the Republican Party, and they're outraged that that's part of it. I think that's proof right there that any given Republican and any given Democrat does not agree with the establishment. And usually they're single issue voters. You know, just like I was. Before I found libertarianism, there was just one thing that made me really mad. And that was why I voted Republican the first time that I voted. You know, and because I didn't know enough about all the issues. And I think that most people will never know a lot about all the issues. They'll stay mad about that one thing, and that's going to control how they vote. But, you know, so just because someone's registered Democrat, it doesn't mean that they care about all the things that your psychotic establishment Democratic Party member cares about.
Where do you see where do you see all this going, especially with like the State House with multiple Liberty candidates getting in? Because I would predict maybe 20 to 25 getting in, something like that.
How many this year?
Yeah, this year.
I believe we have around 60 people on the ballot going to the general.
Will like a majority of them win, or are we just looking
Probably.
At like 60 is even huger than what I've thought. So let's just make it a couple hundred. We're gonna 300 of the state, the 400. The Free Staters are just gonna take over the entire State House. Don't worry, guys. It's gonna happen. Where do you like see this going in the next year or so? Like, how crazy is it gonna get in the State House?
Well, I think. I don't know. I've never really. I think that every 2 years we're going to have more and more Free Staters in the State House. Absolutely, without a doubt. I don't think that there's going to be a year where the number goes down, but I could be wrong. And I think that the more people that register to run for state rep and run campaigns, for every person that does that, they probably inspire a few more to do that, you know, in 2 years when they get their next opportunity. I think that of all the forms of activism, I think that inside the system has got to be the most effective, because if you look at civil disobedience, stuff like that. I mean, look at Ed and Elaine Brown. You know about them? So they resisted their
Yeah,
federal income tax.
they got kidnapped by the state.
Yeah, life in prison
Yeah.
because they didn't pay their taxes. They got a bill, and now they're in jail for the rest of their lives, and it's really sad. So, and then Ian Freeman is always trying to avoid jail time.
Peace be upon him.
Poor Rich Paul. And jail really sucks. Jail is not a place where you can live a productive life. You're not really able to grow emotionally. Jail is damaging and traumatizing to people psychologically, and it's supposed to be just a punishment and like you've learned your lesson and now you're going to do the right thing. But it screws people up so much that they come out worse than they went in.
Yeah.
And this is the situation the majority of the time with people that are sentenced to jail. So there's anyway, and that's a whole nother topic, but. So I don't think that civil disobedience is that effective when you look at cost benefit. Like you might get the attention of a few people, you might change a couple minds, but you've also wasted like 6 months of your short life.
It depends.
And you come out traumatized.
It depends. I'm going to slightly debate you on that. It depends on what you're doing.
Rosa Parks, fine, you got me.
Yeah, Rosa Parks. Yeah, okay. Wasn't going to go there. I was going to refer to
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree.
Yeah, like case in point, neither one of us would be here sitting at this table
If it
across
weren't for
from
that
you.
movie, yeah.
Yeah, if
Really?
it wasn't for that movie.
I signed because of that movie, yeah.
So did I.
I watched it in New Hampshire. Ha.
Well, you were already here. You beat us to the punch.
That movie is playing this Friday, right?
Yeah, it's
or was
playing
it-
At
no,
Keenevention?
it's
Is it
Saturday
Friday?
morning, I
Saturday?
believe. Yeah,
Saturday morning?
It's a grindhouse double feature with 101 reasons to move to New Hampshire.
Yeah.
I am actually, because both of us, we signed the pledge because of Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Bo Davis, the director, producer, and Vince and whatnot. This is like their spiritual successor to that film. So I want to go there just to watch that documentary. That's like my number one thing. Like I really want to watch that because I'm a fan of Bo's work. So I really want to, I want to see what he has next up his sleeve.
I'm excited. I was reading some of his the script. He'd scripted it out and stuff earlier, and it looks really good.
Well, he's put throughout the last 6 months, he's been posting shorts on his YouTube channel of edits of what he's been doing, stuff that he's filmed and whatnot.
Does the movie music make anyone else kind of tear up, or is it just me?
Movie music?
Where it's somebody talking and then they have B-roll and there's the piano or I don't know, violins in the background. And it's oh my God, we're movie stars. No?
Well, depends on the movie. Obviously, yeah, music
No, but
and scenes and whatnot.
In Bo's stuff specifically, have you seen Libertopia?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Yes, I have
About,
seen that.
But it's old school.
That's
FSP.
really old school.
That one
That's,
I cry so many times when I watch it. It's in full length on YouTube now for free.
Yes, I have watched. That's where what's his name walks across the country, right?
Will Buchanan. Yeah.
Yeah, I've not met him yet.
Oh, he lives in Concord.
Yeah, I've never met him yet.
He's cool.
Yeah.
He goes to comedy sometimes.
Oh, really?
Oh, you have that speaking of, you have a
Event
for that, don't you?
Yeah, well, Boston is kind of a hub for stand-up comedy. You got, Chicago, New York, and Boston are kind of the places where people are discovered. And so New Hampshire benefits from that, in that we have a pretty good local open mic scene in Manchester specifically. And I got to hanging out with the comedy folks maybe a year or two ago here in Manchester. Just 'cause it's a nice environment. People are really supportive of each other. People go for the first time and totally fail really hard at being funny, and then they get high fives from the seasoned comedians and pity laughs. But anyway, so Laugh for Your Die is a weekly open mic show in Manchester hosted by Nick David, and he's been doing it for ages. And November 12th is the one night a year that instead of having open mic, they're going to hand select and hire comedians to come on and perform for free. So they're going to come from all over New England, Connecticut, Boston, whatever. And we're going to raffle off prizes to benefit Shire Sharing. So it's really cool. I think that this event is a good example of how Shire Sharing is run. I try to get as much as I can for free,
Yeah.
so that we're not spending money to try to raise money. So the venue is free. The comedians work for free. The whole thing is free. Shire Sharing doesn't spend money to put on the event. So any raffle tickets that you buy go directly to the actual cause.
That's awesome. That's beautiful. Shire, When are you gonna do stand-up comedy? You're like a comedian.
I was wondering.
I don't know how good I'd be at stand-up comedy. Like, I really like video editing. I like that medium. Oh man, I think I if I tried to do stand-up comedy, I'd end up sounding like Chris Cantwell doing stand-up comedy.
It can't be that bad.
which is-
that can't be that bad.
Yeah,
I
are
don't
you
know.
advocating for needless violence?
I would, but I'd try to be funny doing it. So
It's hard to find that medium.
it's
That's
tough.
That's definitely a
And it's also tough, like producing something from a liberty perspective. You know, you'll alienate a lot of people, right? But then people are expecting liberty perspective out of me.
Yeah, that's who
no.
you are.
Most comedians are libertarian and they just don't know it.
Hmm.
Well, most
I'm
people in
serious, like-
general are. They don't know it.
Yeah, but I also think that a lot of comedy is driven by like an awareness of the absurdity that surrounds us, and I think that libertarianism is kind of in the same wavelength.
That's a good point. Yeah.
That is very true. Well, you could always talk about how libertarians are very socially awkward.
Oh, yeah, I could do that. The awkward thing.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Like, I don't know. Like, everyone here is a little socially awkwardly
No.
off. Yeah,
No.
no. Like, everyone's normal. Like, there's just normal people. Like, everyone you meet is just very normal and whatnot. No, everyone's crazy here. Yeah.
Everyone's crazy everywhere.
Yeah, no, that's kind of true. But it's more true here than anywhere else. Probably. I don't know. I've met a lot of crazy people since I moved here.
Maybe liberty.
Good people, don't get me wrong. Great, people, just socially awkward. I mean, I'm probably one of them too, so whatever.
Aren't you trying to sell people on the FSP?
Yeah,
You're like,
no, I'm trying to
everyone
tell.
here is super weird. They're gonna
I-
make you feel uneasy when you
Yeah,
meet them.
they can come here and be weird with us instead of being weird by themselves.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's a good
absolutely.
point, yeah.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
you haven't left your house in a week because you're playing World of Warcraft and there's a pile of Red Bull cans on your desk, move for the Free State Project.
I don't want the WoW people.
No, they should come.
No.
you just blew it.
did I
They're
blow it?
listening right now.
They're listening while they're playing World of Warcraft.
Yes.
Do people still play World
He
of Warcraft?
smashed
That
his
game
Red
came out
Bull
like
can on the table. He's
That
mad.
came out like 15 years ago. Are people still playing that? I don't know.
I don't know.
And right now he's
They
freaking out because you're narrating exactly what he's doing.
They probably are still
Yeah.
playing.
Now
it,
they're
and that's
probably
why we
looking
don't
at
know.
themselves like, oh my
We haven't seen
god,
them.
I am still playing this after 15 years. Maybe I should leave the house.
He's running around like that movie Stranger Than Fiction. Like, how does he know all these things about me? Okay, anyway.
God, it'd be amazing if that actually is the case at some point. But no, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it for people. You know, it's be weird with us.
We have a lot of fun though here
Yeah.
in the Asperger State Project. It's great. Make the move.
Yeah, make the move.
There's bacon.
There is
we
a
have-
oh
I mean,
god.
if we're gonna be stereotypical, there's bacon, there's beer, there's Asperger's, there's beautiful women, there's
Yes, there are.
people living in their cars, but they're like buses. You
They're-
know,
they're
like
not
in-
buses.
They're not a buses.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
People that live in tiny houses, people that live in domes, like dome structures. It's, you know.
It's a little specific. but yeah.
There's people that live in private clubs.
Yeah, I've heard of
and
that.
the
Yeah.
Underground
Yeah, underground private clubs.
that everyone knows about. We're so secret.
Yeah, it's very, very secret apparently. Anywho, is there? There was one other question I want to ask you because you have kids. So
Just one.
just one? I
Yeah,
thought you had
no.
two.
No, I usually have around 5.
Yeah, I always see you.
But she's
I've
just
seen
a
you with
social
multiple kids. I
butterfly.
just assumed. I wasn't.
No.
Oh, what's it like raising a daughter? Right?
Yeah.
Okay. What's it like
Her name's
raising?
Sophia.
Sophia.
She's 8.
Okay.
She's been here since she was 3.
Okay. What is that like?
Well, I can give you an example. So, when I lived in Texas and I had a kid, I didn't know who to hang out with, that also has a kid. And I had a friend from high school who had a kid around the same time I did, and we got together, and so our kids played together. They grew up together, and when my friend didn't like what her son was doing, she would hit him in the face. And that was hard to deal with because I respected her as a person. I still do. And I like her and she's my friend, but I just couldn't cope with like how she was raising her kid. And I kind of realized that maybe the difference between the two of us is that I had given a lot of thought into how I would raise my child and what I thought would be effective parenting versus like parenting that creates a serial killer. I don't know. And I'm not saying that she's going to do that. Our kid's he's a good kid, but so I think I'd given a lot of thought into it, and she was just kind of like, well, this is what my parents did. This is how I'm going to raise my kid. This is just how you raise a kid. And it was also really hard to have my child around them when that happened, because I didn't even want my child to witness it. How, I don't know, super conservative people won't talk about sex around their kids. There are topics I won't talk about around my kid because I think that they're too heavy, like suicide is an example. I don't mention it. So I try not to expose her to things like that. And when you're just making friends with your friends that have kids, you don't know what you're really walking into and how they're raising their kids.
How much do you censor yourself in front of her? Or how much do you try to control like what she can see or whatnot?
Yeah, that's a funny thing. So she's 8, so we're kind of scooting into like, crap, I really gotta talk about sex soon. I have explained that to her like half a dozen times, and she never remembers. So every time I explain it, it's like, what the heck? I've never heard this before. But I keep explaining it. So, I mean, I'm pretty open about a lot of stuff. I cuss around her. She used to cuss a lot, and I never asked her to stop. And in fact, I may have encouraged it by giggling, because it's really cute when a 4-year-old says fuck. But, I wanted her to learn when it's appropriate and when it's inappropriate. And she went to school. I think she started at a new school in 1st grade. She's in 3rd grade now. But when she was in 1st grade, I think she said damn and penis in the same day at school. And that was when she learned, I'm not going to say stuff like this at school because it offends the people around me, or they don't think it's appropriate or whatever. And that's what I wanted. I didn't want to raise her saying those are bad words, or, creating these bullshit ideas. So she's a really well-adjusted kid. She's extremely mature, and she tends to get along better with kids that are older than she is instead of kids that are her age.
One thing I do whenever I'm around kids or whatnot, like I don't treat them like a kid. Like I treat them as another human being, and I talk to them as if they're another human being. Like I might treat them just a slightly little different, but like I'm not gonna like push them to a side, or like their ideas or whatnot. Did you get a poo-poo? Yeah. No, I talk to them as I talk to them as if they're a normal, human being, just a little bit younger. Like I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna censor myself really, and like if they whatever comes up, but I'm not gonna treat them any differently. I'm gonna treat them the same.
I don't think that you should. I mean,
but a lot of people do. A lot of parents do. A lot of people in general treat kids as if they're kids instead of they're actually human beings that you can actually talk to.
And kids really appreciate not being talked down to as well. Like I remember being a kid and being talked down to all the time, and I hated that.
Well, what were you doing to get talked down to?
I was like throwing dirt at stuff, but still, like I don't need you to talk down at me. I'm making mud castles.
Well, I think it depends a lot on the kid that you're talking to, because Sophia has a friend that his father and his mother treat him like a baby. Well, treat him like his age, I guess. And I talked to Sophia like she's on my wavelength. And one day I spoke to him like that, and he broke down and cried. I mean, I made the kid cry because I was just like honest and direct with him.
You're not like a helicopter mom or anything like that.
No. She's usually on the iPad and I'm on the laptop in separate rooms. And she's only 8. But yeah, I mean, so what it's like to raise a kid in the FSP is entirely different. I'm not like, well, I know you and you have a kid, so let's get them together and have a play date. And then you don't know what you're exposing them to. It's the opposite. It's like, I know you and I know what you stand for. And I have at least a minimum standard that I can expect your behavior to be.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really cool. I was lucky enough, despite having this completely alternative method for raising Sophia, with letting her cuss, and there is no Santa Claus, but please don't tell other kids that. Like we did the Santa Claus thing last year, but it was mostly just to prank her because she knows better. So we like left a bunch of presents out just to fuck with her. And the whole time I'm like, so do you care where these came from? And she's like, no. she didn't fall for it. But anyway, so I was lucky enough to meet some people in New Hampshire, my friends the Garcias, and they raised their kids, their 2 children. You probably see me with them a lot, the same way that I raised Sophia. So we don't have conflict where they're doing something and I'm like, oh God, I don't want Sophia to do that or see that. And I'm pretty sure that I don't do stuff that terrifies them. But if I have, they haven't told me. But we have like blended our lives. I spend a lot of time at their house. They spend a lot of time at mine. Their kids are at my house all the time. And our kids sleep over at each other's houses without any problems whatsoever. They're practically sisters. So it's really great for Sophia to have like a best friend that she can completely be herself with. And our family share values too. I mean, it's like, if I had a sister
Yeah,
and I just
gotcha.
found her.
That's beautiful.
And I think that that's how it is for most people that have kids here. Is it's very likely that you're going to share a lot of values with the people that your kids hang out with.
Well, one thing that I love is like we're building a free society. All right, like that's how I view this as, we're not just like coming here doing some activism or whatnot. Like I really do view it as we're trying to build a free voluntary society, like inside a prison almost, like inside of like we're trying to build this free society, and we need kids. We need to propagate the society, and we're only going to do that if there's more and more liberty babies and more
What is
more
something
families.
Stefan Molyneux says, right? Is that he encourages people to raise their children in like the least oppressive method possible, so that when they do encounter oppression for the first time in their lives, they'll be so outraged that they'll become activists.
They're not domesticated into it,
Yeah.
They're not. I mean, right now, most kids are being domesticated into the tyranny that we're under, and if we can like stop that now, and then mind you, I want to live free now. I don't want to wait for. I don't want to be 90 years old when the next generation takes the reins and actually frees everybody. Like I want to be free now. That being said, I view kids as like the backup. They're like the back. They're plan B,
they're
or
phase two.
they're phase two of
Yeah.
it. Like it's a perpetual thing going
Plan B
on
is
going
no
forward.
kids.
Yeah,
That's
that's
a
true.
different thing.
That's true.
That was
But
an abortion.
yeah. But at any rate, like they're the next wave, and we need another. We need to propagate ourselves in regards to people thinking freely. The state's always going to try and program kids and domesticate them and whatnot, and we need to be able to have another phase, like to do what we're doing now.
And that's another beautiful thing about like my story about finding the Garcias and connecting with them, is that I think I guess in psychology it's pretty standard to expect the kid to totally rebel against what their parents stand for. So I might Sophia might agree with me now that she owns her body and gets to decide what she wants to do with it, but for all I know she'll sign up with the Republican or Democrats one day when she's 18, and she'll become some, I don't know, a global warming activist or something terrifying like that. But with her friends there to reinforce her as she grows, we all share the values together. She isn't just hearing her crazy mom spouting off crazy stuff and she knows no one else agrees with it. Instead, she's not just going to school alone. Like Sophia won't wear her Gadsden flag t-shirt to school. She won't say Free State Project. Walt Havenstein, a candidate for governor, came to her school to look cool on TV or something and try to get votes from the students' parents. And she was chosen among like a small group of students for a roundtable discussion with him. And I was really trying to get her to ask him if he's a Free Stater, because it's really funny because he's from out of state, but he's not Liberty at all. And she's like, I am not saying that. So she's aware that there's she has two lives. She can cuss at home. We can be ourselves at home. And when she goes to school, she needs to participate in that world. But with her friend Michaela there to share that with her, that we have two lives, I don't think that Sophia's going to, I think that the odds are lower that she's going to grow up and just completely rebel.
I never imagine it'd be, because I always feel like when I go into my day job, like I'm living a double life. Like I live this life, and then I go to work, and I'm living, it's a double life. I don't talk about.
You never imagine an 8-year-old having two lives?
I never imagine an 8-year-old like having a double life.
Yeah.
Like, like the kids in the project, like also having to deal with living a double life. Like that never crossed my mind that, that is an issue, even in like, grade school or whatnot, that they're actually, having to go through that.
She's never had any problems, but she listens to our adult conversations where we talk about our daily lives. I don't really whisper many things outside of her earshot. So she knows a lot about the kind of activism that we do, the reactions that we get from people that are opposed to freedom.
As she should.
So, she's careful.
Yeah.
You should see her at Pork Fest, man. She walks around the place like she owns it.
That's awesome.
Like the last, in 2013 and 2012, I gave her a walkie-talkie to try to keep track of her. Both years she lost the walkie. Now she just walks around on her own. I'm like, I don't even know where she is.
Well, that's
and
beautiful.
she's completely safe. And she knows. And this past year, Michaela, our little friend, came with us for the week, and stayed without her family, like the longest she'd gone without seeing him, I think. And at first Michaela was so nervous, and she didn't want to leave the campsite. And she's like, I don't know anyone. And Sophia, took her around and introduced her to all the kids she only sees every Pork Fest. And, before long, I didn't know where either of them were.
You're such a great parent.
I
I
don't
took
know
these
about
kids
that.
to a
It's
to
an
a festival
experiment.
of a couple thousand people, and then they just went on their own. Who knows?
We walked past the guy in the loincloth, and I was just like, Sophia, what do you think about that? And she's like, I don't know.
What about the guy that was being pulled by a leash? Did they walk by
I
that
don't
guy
know.
too?
They probably saw him. Yeah. And they colored with chalk with Manic from Keen, Mariah.
Oh, that's
and,
cute.
they,
The chalk wars continued at Porkfest with the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
They went full
especially
Keen
kids.
at Porkfest.
They went full Keen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, we're actually way past our time frame as it is. So, Amanda, where can pimp your site really quick? Where can everyone donate?
Oh, www.shiresharing.org. So it's SHIRE sharing.org, and the donate buttons are on the right-hand side.
And do it soon, kids, before Thanksgiving.
And also, if you're in New Hampshire, come volunteer with us. Join the Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Shire Sharing. Join the group anyway, even if you're not in New Hampshire, because the bulk of the discussion, I post every little detail, all the developments in there. It's fun.
Sweet. And Shire Dude, where can people find you?
ShireDude.com.
All right. And I'm at vrebel.com. And obviously, this show, get it at rebelloveshow.com. Get us on Stitcher or iTunes, whatever podcast platform you choose, or even watch us on YouTube. And maybe feel free and donate all three of us some Bitcoin. But if you're only going to donate one this time, do it for Shire Sharing. All right. And we're out, guys. Peace.
Peace.
Vote for Pedro. In 2 years.